In this video, I'm going to be philosophizing on functional properties of meaningful properties of truth and discussing the multifunctionalities of perception, action, and behavior. When we're discussing the functional properties, we're interested not so much in the capacities to engage perception, action, and behavior in various multifunctionalities and multifunctioning in regards to our specific conducts, more about the meaningful engaging of some functional, well-defined element of truth, as in to constitute specific meaningful utterances of thought. We're engaging a process of combinatorial development of meaning interpretations from collage to a more solidified and consolidated congealing of meaningful information that we can develop easier access of these loosey-goosey yet engage cognitive flexibility meaning interpretations that we can draw into different combinatory patterns of association that allow us for the functional properties of meaningful properties to be easier to access knowledge as we engage the dynamic structuring of sentences within meaningful utterances of thought, that we can develop paragraphs in which each word within the sentence and paragraph is doing work in regards to its sequencing and its analytic meaning combinatory of other analytic meanings that give it dynamic and non-linearity to its sequencing and diction within the structuring of a sentence, as to mean that the words, as they're combined, have different combos of meaning that we can infer easier access to knowledge, and those combos are creative structuring of sentences to the words within those combinations, that there are emergent and developmental meanings associated with prior existing chunked meaningful information that we've learned from well-defined written and recorded self-conducted learning, and not vague and not inadequate or ineffective or irrelevant thinking that we've learned something but haven't engaged a meaningful learning process at all. As to be able to engage complete sentences and communicate meaningfully communications that are effective, meaningful utterances of thought, well-defined, should combine the combos of words and sequences that are easier to infer its approximate meaningful functions in regards to its functioning within the truth statements, and that we can develop the multifunctionalities within our own perception, action, and or behavior as we're able to engage our own inferences, but only ever engage the functional properties of each specific wording within the sentence and paragraph as we're engaging more of a component process that we're developing through direct perception, the component parts and processes together in the combinatory limited processing capacities that we do have. That doesn't mean that after it's been output, or if we're engaging, say, a specific psychological process and behavior, that there isn't emergent multifunctionalities to it. Yet when we're talking about truth and we're trying to develop truth-seeking processes, we don't think of things in terms of objectivities or so much the functionalities. Well, we do think of it in functionalities, but not so much the multifunctionalities, as we're engaging more of this simplification of complexity because it's easier to access knowledge. And we do tend to only mostly engage in the meaningfulness of the combinatory sequencing of words because each word has depth to it that we can access easier knowledge through the well-defined. And the well-defined has multiple meaning interpretations associated with it. Yet, as we're engaging a sequencing of word within sentence, we're developing more of a pathway that is directed in a specific direction in which there is a functionality to it, not so much a multifunctionality, as to be able to easier access meaning, that through a sentence we take each word and we create more approximate, well-defined meanings to those words, and we don't leave them vague or ambiguous. They're only within the specific dynamic process that we are engaging that multifunctionality. Say, if we're asking a question that's more open-ended, to be able to explore a wide range of options, it's not so much that we've engaged the wording of that so as to, with each word, engage the multifunctionalities of the word, more some about the process of perception, action, behavior, that we're engaging a overarching pursuit of a specific objective in association with perception, action, and or behavior that is encompassing those sentence structuring processes, as to be able to compile meanings, as we could go back to that sentence and then look at each component, part, and process of the word, and look at where we went wrong in terms of our major objective, if we had constructed a too narrow of a sentence or too open-ended of a sentence that does not lead us to the direction that we are meaningfully pursuing. And that's all I want to say for this video. I hope you have an awesome one and keep it developing this episode.